Health Department recently made a visit to a Central Arkansas farmers market over a complaint regarding selling raw milk. But many are asking, is this really about raw milk or is it about government overreach? Joining us here on Conduit today is Logan Duvall, a partner with Me McGee Market. Hey, Logan.
Hi, Jenny. Thank you for inviting me on.
Absolutely. Well, I think that your story over the past few days has captured the attention of a lot of Arkansans. And so I'm really happy to help you share your story. First of all, just tell us a little bit about yourself and Me and McGee.
Yeah, so Me McGee Market is in North Little Rock, just outside of just east of Little Rock, in North Little Rock. And so it was started by accident with my grandparents doing pecans. So the origin story is extremely important and pertinent to what we're going to be discussing. It was just a retired couple that wanted to
Mhm.
take advantage of the pecan trees on their property and shell them and sell them on the side of the road and just earn a little money after retirement. And
Yeah.
from there, they planted a garden with my mom and stepdad, and people started pulling in and asking if they could buy stuff out of the garden. And it has just slowly, grown from there. My grandfather ended up passing away in 16 from cancer, and so cancer's always been interwoven into the mission that we've got. And so it's just grown. We've got an incredible community and following. I've got four babies. My oldest was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in 2019, and so again, the cancer is such a huge focus, and then just the community is right there as important.
I'm sure. And I did read that about your child and cancer. And that was really what you said was the passion and drive for you to pursue this. And so, talk to us then about how the market has gone and what recently happened there.
Yeah, so there was nothing planned about the market at all. It's just very organically community supported. We've just kept going, and it's the environment, right? It's an outside
Mhm.
grocery store more than like a farmer's market, and just my family, my mom, my grandparents. Just it's been a lot of sacrifice and love that's been poured into to what we are, and so my passion is this local decentralized food
Mhm.
system, right? Like I want to be the retail extension and marketer for our local farmers because people in Little Rock are used to convenience, right? I think we
Yeah.
all are in 2024. And so the act of going to a grocery store or a small market like us and get as much as you possibly can for your week or for the family,
Yeah.
that saves a lot of time. There's a convenience component. And so farmers don't have to go, our partners for the most part, they don't have to go make deliveries to restaurants, go set up on a Saturday for a farmer's market, do all this extra stuff that takes away from what they do, what they want to do. Most of them just want to
Yeah.
farm. They don't really want to deal with
Right.
people.
Yeah.
And so we take on that responsibility. And so in doing so, the this is kind of where the whole milk thing comes in. Currently, it is illegal to sell raw milk for human consumption outside of being directly from a farm. Okay. And then there's some regulations with that, and a lot of farmers
Yeah.
don't even want to deal with that. So it's a little bit twofold. The raw milk, you have to go directly to the farm and buy that. All right. A lot of these
Okay.
dairies, I don't we got a population in a 20-mile radius of 600,000, right? I've got a lot of
Yeah.
people right here. They don't want to drive
Yeah.
an hour and a half,
Yeah.
2 hours to go pick up raw milk. And a lot of these farms have waiting lists, right? So not everybody that it would even want to do that can. So what we're able to do is aggregate products to make it convenient right where the
Right.
outlet. What we were doing, and this is, and I'm fighting this, right? Because I don't think that we're in the wrong. I sincerely don't. You can label raw milk for pet consumption. And what a free American does with that milk when they get home is their
Mhm.
own business, right?
Yeah.
So what happened is somebody came in, saw that we were doing this, and turned us into the health department. The health department came out to do an investigation, said you can't sell this. Well, I'm not seeing any legislation that says you can't sell pet food, right? And
Yeah.
we sell pets are a huge part of what we do. Like I've
Yeah.
regularly put out a post where we ask for people's pictures of their pets. People bring their pets out here all the time. We have a huge pet
That's
section, right?
awesome. Yeah.
So it's not simply a loophole, so to speak, but I mean
Yeah.
it's a lot of nonsense. So we got in trouble for selling milk, raw milk, not directly from a farm. So that's the issue. We got to open up retailers to better support our farmers.
Was this the first time that you've had a complaint or a visit from the health department?
No, this is like number four. So the first time was when the uh, the cottage food law was the law of the land, so to speak, and under that it was pretty restrictive on what you can make, like the artesian goods. So at that time, and it was super gray area. You couldn't make pickles. All right, so we
Mm,
part of having produce, right, is you got to preserve it because it's got a short shelf
yeah,
life. So we
right.
got into where we were making salsas and pickles and reselling them, right, or selling them from that we made here at the market.
Yeah.
So we got turned in because that was illegal to make pickles and sell it under cottage food law, right? Complete nonsense. The second, and that was from a competitor that turned us in. So this is
Mm,
the what I'm
mm,
talking about on the
yeah.
weaponization of these agencies. It's not for public health. The second time in the cottage food law, you weren't allowed to make jams and jellies that were sugar free because sugar is actually a preservative. So if you're using a sugar free you can't, right? It was illegal under cottage foods. Well, the competitor, this is a second competitor, it is again nonsense, turned us in for making sugar-free products. Well, when the health department came out to do that investigation, they found that we were actually using a co-packer that was doing everything legally, and so there was nothing to it. We had to stop making the pickles and the salsa until the food the new law that is the Food Freedom Act came into
Mhm.
play, and that opened it up a lot more. And it
Okay.
is so much better than the cottage foods. We're just still lacking, and so now this time, um, it's just about the regulations. It's the overreach. It really is.
Yeah, it really is. You and I were talking offline about several things, and one of those was just COVID and how there was, as awful as it was, and just really, I look back at it now and I'm like, how did, uh, just the way that people so freely gave up their rights. But the silver lining would be it woke up a lot of people. And I think that people now, more than what we've seen, especially our generation, a very long time, they're taking a step back and saying, okay, wait a second. What am I feeding my children? What am I injecting in my kids? Is this vaccine really safe? Is this food really safe? You know, what is the ulterior motive here? Would you say that you're seeing that a lot as well, especially coming out of COVID?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we had to navigate COVID. So on one hand, this was right after my son was diagnosed with cancer. I was
Mm,
scared to death. I just
yeah.
completely got gut punched. So we have that going on. We have the world just going absolutely
Yeah.
nuts and trying to survive and run a business. And what I saw on the food system there is what really shook me to the core. We
Mm,
ran out of meat. We ran
yeah.
out of local meats. Like that was I don't know if people forgot really this easy, but the shelves were bare in
Yeah.
stores a lot, right? And it told me that, hey, we got a problem. And people started looking for local, but local didn't have the supply to meet that demand. And we ran out of all kinds of stuff. So yes, people are waking up. As we've continued to just dive in, what is cancer? Why is cancer on the rise? What are all these metabolic diseases going on, and
Yeah.
what's that cause? And it's all lifestyle, right? And food is a massive, massive part of that. And so my frustrations come from we can put all these poisons in our food without any issue, right? By these mega publicly owned corporations, but we can't buy food from our neighbors. We can't produce our own food
Yeah.
without meeting nonsense regulations or being scared. Like we have a lot of farmers that just quit because it's too hard to do what they're trying to get you to do, or they're
Yeah.
scared of getting in trouble, right? And so like it again, it goes all back to this building a local food system that the government isn't telling us what we can or can't eat or how we can buy it from our neighbors. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah, two things I want to ask you coming out of that conversation. One, what are you hearing from farmers? I know that as you mentioned, you partner up with a lot of them. You say that some are kind of falling to the wayside because of the regulations. Those of us who follow this topic are seeing farmers and producers being shut down or fined, and like what are you hearing from these people?
I, they're livid. Honestly, I think for the most part, farmers are the sect of society that's most connected to nature, right? And
Yeah.
very cause and effect oriented in how they view things. And so for the most part, it's just complete frustration. It's absolutely just frustration that this is why when I see legislation that's simply only about raw milk, it's missing the point, right?
Yeah.
It's missing the point because we have a partnership in retail and production that is so vital to get the
Mhm.
distribution, the logistics, the bringing people together and creating that awareness. So it's not just the farming, it's that our food system is being dictated and regulated to where it's too hard to be competitive with these big guys. And we're never going to compete with them, but we need to have that autonomy to be able to execute on it.
Recently, and we also talked about this offline, there was a congressional hearing in DC. It had the Means, RFK Jr., and others. And I want to mention and get your take on this. One outlet, it was The Atlantic, titled the story, "The Woo Woo Caucus Meets," a health and nutrition event hosted by a Trump ally showcased a congruence of crunchy and cranky. And two things. Um, and why do you think there's such a concerted effort to discredit those who are talking about this and raising the red flag about it? And then two, do you see this as being a left or right issue? They made a point to say it was, Trump allies who were doing this, but is this really a bipartisan issue or a partisan issue?
Yeah, it's this is the issue is centralization first versus decentralization. This has nothing to do with sites. So the tool that they use, right, to have control in the centralization is division. They want to divide us based off everything that they possibly can, right? And that's evident through society, through the narratives, what the mainstream says. They always talk about, sexual orientation, race,
Yeah.
left, right, all that. It has nothing to do with this. This is about the Constitution. This is about what the founding documents of our country say about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So the Atlantic is simply a tool. It's a weapon of the centralized machine. Like this is a big deal, and I really hope that the listeners and viewers are getting what I'm saying. Centralization. This is that if we want to call it shadow government, whatever, this is what Eisenhower was talking about in his farewell speech about the weaponization of the industrial military complex controlling everything. That's who's doing this. That
Yeah.
that is 100% what's going on. And they're centralizing so they can control. That's it. They
Yeah.
control through division and reliance.
And then the
It's
more that can keep us sick and stay in that hamster wheel,
they feed the machine. They feed the
that's right.
machine.
Uh, I know that you're familiar with Dr. Amy Beard. She's a friend of Conduit and a personal friend of mine. She's been on Conduit often, and especially during COVID, which her videos, I'm sure that you're familiar with this, her videos on YouTube with Conduit would be taken off um, for, misinformation. But she and I would often talk about, and you have mentioned it, this parallel system for people to get plugged into, whether, health, medical, food system running parallel and kind of unplugging from that matrix. What does that actually look like though for people? If they're listening right now, they're like, okay, like I want to get involved. I want to do this for my family, but what does that tangibly look like? What would you tell them?
It's source your food seasonally, locally, and naturally from our neighbors, from the farmers. Support them. Go to the farmers market. Go to the small markets, the family-owned mom and pop operations that are doing exactly that, right? They're being that extension of what it is they are producing. It's that simple. Stop buying from these corporations that are interested first and foremost based off their fiduciary duty to get money to shareholders. Your community members care about the community.
Arkansas, our motto is the people rule. Here at Conduit, especially as of late, specifically about the Republican Party, we have been asking if we are truly a party of the people or a party of special interest. How do you see that landscape here in Arkansas? Do you feel as though our legislators are doing a good job listening and protecting the will of the people?
I see a lot of this is where I've gotten in trouble. I've got a lot of pushback, right? Because I say what I think on that. And for the most part, until it hurts bad enough, people don't make a change. Okay.
Yeah.
And so when I put out things calling out these legislators, it's because I'm not trying to necessarily tear them down. I'm trying to see where the cream is going to rise. I'm trying to see where these legislators are like, you know what? I am for the people and I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to put in the work. I'm not just going to talk. And so I think we're in this situation because of cause and effect. We're in the situation
Yeah.
where we are right now from the lack of action that's been taken. So I don't know if that answers your question without me being,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
a
and you specifically, you are not just, talking about it and complaining, you are offering solutions. Let's talk about the proposed legislation that you've drafted called the Arkansas Prosperity and Food Sovereignty Act. Talk to us about that.
So since Lander was diagnosed with cancer, all I've done is try to figure out what the solutions are because it is darkness. Like the people can
Yeah.
feel it. We can feel something's not right. It's dark. What do we do? Well, the only way to overcome darkness is with light, and light is the solution. Okay. Light is the solution to darkness. So what I have done is I've gotten experts from across the world, across the health, the agriculture, even even economics to understand what is that problem. And so this, in my opinion, opens it up. It opens it up to not be controlled by committees that have corporate captured agencies, politicians, lobbyists sitting on boards that dictate how local foods are run. So that is really in there. It's very vague, right? I want to roll back the legislation. I don't want to dictate every move that every single player makes. And I put in there that there's an oversight committee made up of farmers,
Yeah.
local retail owners, healthcare professionals, right? Let's get people in there that aren't owned, right? That's the big thing for me, that aren't going to be controlled by the government. Also, the other side of that is there's an educational piece that is incredibly important. So to
Yeah.
tie back in this whole military industrial complex piece that's going to make me sound like an absolute conspiracy theorist
Not
crazy.
on Conduit.
Okay, all right. They own the science, right?
Yeah.
All that's where we got all that narrative, that nonsense of trust the science, trust the science. No, look at what's happened at Stanford. Look at what's happened at Harvard. Look at what's happened with all of the saturated fat attacks, the attacks on sugar. The sugar industry paid off professors to write positive pieces about sugar and blame other things, right? So we can't say that trust the science and have a PhD come in and dictate what we're doing. That's the problem, right? That's centralized education, that's centralized control. So by being decentralized, by putting our own people on these committees, now we won't fall back into that trap. Because if any legislation doesn't have centralized control on education and oversight, we fall back into the same exact problem we're in now.
Dr. Amy Beard would also talk about because she transferred over from working she had a general practice to functional medicine practitioner, and she would talk about her days at medical school and how really doctors, and I have doctors in the family, healthcare professionals, and so I know that there are some wonderful advocates out there, but as a whole, they're not necessarily taught to get to the root of an issue or find an alternate way to treat it. It's like, okay, you come in with these symptoms, check boxes, you treat it with this prescription, and then like we talked about, it just becomes very cyclical that keeps these people plugged into that machine. But what you're saying is to find those experts and people who are involved and get those people involved in this legislation and on the panels and boards.
Absolutely. And evaluate it. Right?
Yeah.
Evaluate what are the results. Are people getting sick? Are they not getting sick? Are we getting
Right.
healthier? Let's judge it. And so one thing I do want to do, circle back to what you said. I don't, I'm extremely critical about the medical system, especially big pharma, extremely critical.
Yeah.
And I just want to say it's not about the doctors. To me, before they know. Okay, before they know. Once you see it, then it's on you. You got to own it. Once you
Yeah.
know better, do better, right? But doctors are absolutely put through essentially boot camp, right? They don't get to sleep. They get hammered. They are just working, working, working for years, and they have to memorize and execute on what they're taught or they don't pass, right? So they absolutely get hammered in on believing a certain way. And now I work with doctors all over the world, talk to them every day. There's a lot that have started questioning the narrative. A lot
Hmm.
are waking up, right? The Amy is not the only one by any stretch. A lot right here in Arkansas. So I just wanted to preface that it's the system that is that
Yeah.
centralized education that I'm talking about, and
Yeah.
that's why that's why the Rockefeller Carnegie schooling systems have done right. We've tried to create factory workers and mindless people that don't think and they just execute whatever the insurance company wants to do or whatever the corporations
Yeah.
want you to participate in.
I agree. Let's circle back very briefly to this draft legislation. The legislature will be in session in January. Have you been contacted by any legislators yet, offering their help, or the governor's office?
Yes, not the governor's office, but a lot have came out, and I support this. We'll do it. Don't have anybody like sponsoring it or getting it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put together a roundtable, and we're going to get the people that I would have as like an example of what an oversight committee speak from their perspective, and we'll broadcast it. That's the beautiful thing about. I know I keep going back to it. We have centralized media. Okay, all of them are owned by essentially the same people, right? All of them. And
Yeah.
so when we have podcasts, and I even put this in the bill, right? The way we get that
Sure.
out there is through podcasts, through independent news outlets. It's through being a decentralized medium to get out the messages because we can't rely. You know who hasn't contacted me? Channel 4, Channel 7, Channel 11. Any of those people that were beating my door down when we were in COVID or doing a
Mhm.
lot of this other stuff, they don't care about this issue. I think that speaks volumes to what we're discussing here.
Well, talk to us about the support. The support that you've received, I've seen in the past few days is unreal. And people want to hear about this. They want to know more and they want to figure out a way to help.
Well, people are scared and they're tired,
Yeah,
right? We have got a lot going on in the world, and
a
so
lot.
we're sick as society. We're sick, and everybody, for the most part, can feel it. That is even remotely objective to what's
Yeah.
going on. The support's been incredible because people are waking up. The
Mhm.
the the support's being what it is, but not because of milk. I mean, that's the big thing that I'm
Yeah,
trying to get at.
right.
That bill that I wrote has very little to do with raw milk, right? It really like I maybe put it in there once.
Yeah,
So people want to be able to decide what they do for their families, right? Because right now the medical system is dictated by insurance, right?
yeah,
A lot of the doctors' hands are tied based off of
yeah.
insurance. They spend
That's so
15
true.
minutes with somebody, and that most of that time they're not even looking at you. They're sitting there looking at a computer typing. Like
Uh-huh.
this is not healthcare. And people are sick of it, and they're sick of getting a prescription and then having side effects to get another prescription and another prescription. So this is so multifaceted. It is food, it is medical, it is the pharmaceutical, it is the education. This is all of it. And people are tired of it. They're waking up and they're just looking for somebody to say, hey, this is the direction that we want to row, and let's go.
You mentioned, and before we let you go, I just want to talk about a few more things. You mentioned that you believe that you're in the right about this and you're going to fight it. What does this look like walking out this complaint, and how does that affect you guys?
Well, I think this is going to be the people. I think it's just going to be the people, and so that's why I'm trying to talk to the people, we the people, because this is where I get in trouble. Politicians forget that they are the people. They're not different from us. They are representatives of us. And so when they get in these committees with this absolute good intentions, but then they have, well, we heard XYZ doesn't like the
Yeah,
verbiage of this. So let's not do it because they may pull my funding for the next campaign. It's
right.
nonsense. And so it is going to be the people. It is going to be the pressure. It is going to be saying, hey, I elected you to office to represent me and your community, not your corporate buddies.
I think sometimes what we also see is that these legislators get in office, as you said, they're just like you and I, but then somehow in some way they're at we call it the Marble Palace, and then they believe that they know better than you. They know better than the constituents that they're home representing, and just let us handle this issue. Do you see that at all?
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
where I've gotten exceedingly frustrated when I am told by politicians that we've got something underway. I don't know
Yeah.
what you're working on. I don't know. Have you ran a retail outlet with the food system and see how destructive your regulations are? Right?
Mm.
I mean, it is insane to me that we can have some of the things that get passed through without the people being involved. It's insane to
Yeah.
me.
Well, and what we always talk about at Conduit, and you and I briefly spoke about this, is the more regulations, the more red tape, the more barriers that they put in place for the people, really the less, and the more money that they tax and take from you, the less freedom you have. And so I think that whenever you ease up regulations, you let the people, as you talk about, be able to decide what's best for them. That's where we're able to thrive as a society. And so I really hope that legislators take you up on this sovereignty bill. It's a wonderful bill, and let us know at Conduit how we can help you. Before we let you go, let us know how people can help Me McGee Market, and then also you have a fantastic podcast, and you have wonderful experts on. Tell people how they can learn more about what you have going on.
Yeah, so Me and McGee Market, we use Facebook as the primary medium. It's just what we've built the platform on, and so, uh, Jenny, I want to emphasize one thing. This isn't about me. This is not about
Yeah.
Me and McGee Market. We're fine, right? We're good. We are grateful, and we were absolutely blessed. This is about the state of Arkansas and the destruction of rural America, of rural Arkansas. Right? I grew up in Atkins. I saw what happened as the economic decline of losing ag, right? We lost the pickle
Yeah.
plant. Atkins has been, struggling ever since. You see what's happening in East Arkansas and South Arkansas. It's sad, right? It's sad. So this isn't about me, it isn't about us, but you can follow along on Facebook, sign up for the newsletter. I try to keep people posted there. The Sowing Prosperity is because I'm a country boy from Arkansas. I'm proud of that, right? Like I am proud of where I'm from and what this state has made me, but I want to know that I am directing people with the right information. And so we bring on the absolute best minds on the Sowing Prosperity podcast so I can get their perception. I don't agree with everybody that comes on the podcast. They don't agree with me, but we can have a good conversation. And
Yeah.
so huge names come on regularly. Just I've got, Sally Fallon Morrell. She wrote Nourishing Traditions, getting her back on to discuss this. Joel Salatin, he's the world's most famous farmer. Gabe Brown is a force in the regenerative agriculture. Great friends. And so we've been able to put Arkansas on the map across these experts and in their minds based off the work we're doing. And
Yeah.
being supported means the world. And I can't just thank everybody enough. If you want to follow along Sowing Prosperity, we're going to keep plugging along.
Thank you so much for joining us on Conduit, and be sure to keep us updated because it's something that we definitely want to follow.
Thank you.